Welcome to episode 208 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. This time coming to you once again for the second week in a row on a Sunday morning, which is a good thing because it means I had a busy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but also even better because this Sunday, today, happens to be Roxy Bear's birthday. And you're going to have to wish me luck on this because my dog just turned into a teenager. So we're probably about to go through all of those moody years, all the drama and things that come with being a teenager. No, on a serious note, Roxy Bear turning 13 is like such an awesome thing. We had a little bit of a scare leading into the end of the year last year, and I was just like really wondering around Christmas time what the future was going to hold. But here we are 5 months later, and she's still kicking, doing her thing. We're going on walks consistently. In fact, today I'm even celebrating. We're wearing the Roxy Bear inspired merch, and we've got gifts for her. Cody made a little puppy cake for her, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So we have reason to celebrate today on this day, but we have a reason to celebrate every day because it's a day and we're still here and we're enjoying it. And I hope that's exactly what you're doing as you tune into this podcast and as I talk about my week, which will start off in a surprise to no one in one of my newest things and where I'm spending a lot of my time and energy in the world of buying and selling, something that I've talked about at length here and that I'm enjoying thoroughly, and I still continue to do so. But I want to talk about something really cool that happened this week, and that is the concept of my viewers becoming my customers. I made a pledge 2 weeks ago that I was going to stop looking for things necessarily that were just like on the cheap that were worth a lot of money and instead shop with my heart and look for things that I thought were really cool and things that I would want to own or pieces that I thought were neat. And when you know it, when you start looking for things that you think are neat, other people think that they're neat too. And I had a few people reach out and buy things on eBay for me that actually watch the channel, which is I guess a good side effect of sharing your journey in buying and selling is that people get to see the things you're getting. And then they're like, oh, that's really cool. Like I could use that or my daughter needs that. And that's exactly what happened this week with a few of my estate sale buys. So that was really cool. Yard sale stuff still continues to do well. I'm having a blast out there shopping, which is the reason that this episode's coming out on a Sunday. It means that we had a very busy end of our week. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all busy days when it comes to estate sales. On Thursday, which is one we went to this week. I actually went to 3, and really huge thank you to Bud and Deb, my mother and father-in-law. You may have heard their song. It's the smash hit Bud and Deb's Yard Sale Adventures. They ended up going to this estate sale early. It was one that was heavily advertised, and I had to get Clark Man on the bus, and they usually come over here and hang out with me, and then we go over. But with this estate sale company in particular, they are very, very serious about advertising, and the sales they do are very good. So they ended up getting there early, and we're already like waiting in line when Clark Man got on the bus. And I sent Deb a bunch of pictures of things that I wanted from there, and they ended up getting me everything that I was looking for, which I made a video about. But I was excited to get this. It was like a joystick controller that I think is really cool. In fact, I had one back in like the Windows 98 days, so it's older, but there's some value in it. Not necessarily for me, but I think there's value on eBay for that. And there was a couple other electronics things. There was a old Sony CyberShot camera that was there. Some printer ink. For whatever reason, I become like a seller of printer inks. They do really well, even expired. Like I bought 4 printer inks at a yard sale. I think it was the first weekend we went out. I bought them each for 25 cents, and I've been selling them for like $15, $20 each, which is just like a crazy return. And then that fuels my ability to go out and buy more stuff, which is like what this is all about. Again, this is not necessarily my business or like what I'm doing for a living, but it's like a hobby for me. It's like playing video games, only I feel like it's kind of like more productive, and I'm connecting 2 markets of people. Someone that wants to get rid of something, and then I'm connecting it to somebody that wants to get something. And I feel like there's value in that. Some people might view that as like being a scalper or a dirty old reseller, but I look at it like fulfilling a need in the market and one that I enjoy doing. I love going out and hunting. I love the process of like listing it, packaging it, selling. And I've talked about all this, but I just reiterate how much fun it is. And it's cool to see in the comments. In fact, there will even be some of this in listener feedback here, which is making a comeback this week, that other people are kind of getting encouraged to go out too, which is like so awesome, because there's a few things you can do as a YouTuber. You can entertain, which maybe is, I don't know if it's the easiest or hardest thing to do, but people come to YouTube for entertainment. They come for information, probably the thing that I'm worse at, like tutorials, teaching people how to do things. They come to be inspired, and I like to think that, or encouraged. And I don't know what the difference is between being inspired or encouraged, but I feel like I probably maybe the best at that. Probably the worst at informing, the best at encouraging, and mid, as the kids would say, at entertaining. But maybe someday I can make the shift over to informing, because there's probably the most value to the greatest number of people there. I just follow my heart and I share what I do, and sometimes excitement can be contagious. That's, I guess, my best description of maybe the power that I have. So I'm excited to see other people going out and finding scores and stuff. In fact, I had someone comment, maybe you're listening. They said they made a 40-minute drive to the bins, my bins that I go to on $3 day, and they found a score there. So it's like, heck yeah, maybe bins should sponsor me, eh? Give me a little bit of credits each week. No, I don't need that. I can definitely afford to buy some things for $3 to sell on eBay and hopefully make some profit on, which has been working. That being said, as we're talking about the bins, I'll talk more about yard sale here, but I think I'm going to maybe go a little less hard on like $5 day. I usually go on Monday, which is $5 day. Then I've been going like on Wednesday because it's like the one other day that's free, which is $3 day to get some last scoops. But I find myself getting a little overstimulated on $5 day, and I'm making purchases that I should let sit, but it's the fear of that not being there in the future. And I look at something and I'm like, ooh, I can buy that for $5 and sell it for 20, which I do. And I try to make all my stuff like the cheapest one on eBay so it goes fast. And I like this other thing, and you might think this is silly, but I kind of like the idea of passing my savings along to other people. Like, especially with when I bought these smoking, like how to quit smoking patches. I was selling those super cheap, and I was like, dude, maybe like this could be the thing to help someone stop smoking. Like, this is cheap enough that they're just like, okay, I'll try it. And I know that seems goofy, but in my mind, like, I guess that's how I justify it, being that dirty old scalper or whatever. But I'm noticing that there's a few things I bought for $5, and then by the time I list it and put it as the cheapest one, and then it sells for like, say, like $17.99, and then I pay for shipping and eBay fees, I'm making like $2 or $3 on that, which you could say, well, Greg, you were there anyway, and it didn't take much work. But when you calculate the time that it spends looking through the bins, the time it takes to post it, the time that it takes to package it, the cost of boxes, materials, and then taking it to the post office, I think if I'm going to buy on Mondays, this is going to be my thing going forward. It needs to be like a minimum of like $20 to $25 if I buy something that day. Otherwise, like, I might just not even go on Mondays anymore and just really focus on like Wednesday, Thursday, which is like $3 day, $2 day, because that's when you really can't lose. Like, if you go on $2 day and you find something and say you sell that for $17.99, a lot more wiggle room or meat on the bone, if you will. Sorry, vegans out there. But yeah, I just kind of was thinking about that this week, and I've made a couple bad purchases this week and the past few weeks too, where it was like, I probably should have just let it go. And no, I won't go there. And I was like, okay, no, I can do this. I can turn this into something. And then I got it, and it wasn't the right thing, or there was an issue with it or whatever. I should have been more diligent, and I got to be like more less with my heart and more with my mind when I buy these things. And I look at the sold listings, and it's got to be something that's going to sell, especially on $5 day. So there's my bins philosophy going forward. I was debating whether to go tomorrow, which I may not even be able to, because of course Clark Mann is sick again. Welcome to elementary school, my friends. You're going to get sick pretty much every 2 to 3 weeks throughout the entire year. Hopefully this is the last one, because there's only like 18 days of school left, which is exciting. And that may also change my bins thing going forward. And yard sales are that, that we're checking them off, the community ones, which I'll talk about now. We went out Friday to my old neighborhood. It was just the worst weather day that you could imagine, dumping rain the entire morning. But Deb messaged me beforehand, and she asked if we were going out, and it seemed like they were, so I said yes. And then I kind of thought later that I don't think they were really wanting to go out that day, or were going to go out unless I did it. And I feel like I do a lot of like the motivating of them to do a lot more stuff than what they would want to typically, because I'm just like all about it, like I'm an obsessive person. So when I do something, I'm like all in on it. And of course I'm going to go out in the rain, because you know what that means? We're going to go to a bunch of garage sales. No one else is going to be shopping today. We're going to find all kinds of great stuff in my mind. And I did find some things. No Lego, didn't find any Lego out there, but I found some things that I could sell. There were 2 items that I got that were on my I really love these items lists. The rest are kind of just like, yeah, there's opportunity there. The one is this Tony the Tiger transistor radio from 1980. That's really cool. And then this other one that I found that was basically free. Bud had it in a box that he bought for $4. It was kind of just to throw in. And then the other thing was this Simpsons Sing the Blues cassette tape. And that was 50 cents. And I just thought those were cool items. So maybe I have a Tony the Tiger fan or Frosted Flakes fan out there. I mean, don't we all love Frosted Flakes? Maybe you don't want a transistor radio from 1980 of Tony the Tiger. It's like shaped like him. But maybe you want a Simpsons cassette. I don't know. I just thought they were neat items. The rest are just kind of like, hey, I think I could do well on these things. And I bought a bunch of stuff. Saturday, not nearly as weather improved, but not nearly as much luck finding things. But I came across a Lego score that was unbelievable. The backstory on it is I went in, asked the lady if she has any Lego, and she said, we have Lego inside. And I took that to mean, yeah, we still play with it, because I hear that a lot. Like, oh, we have Lego, but the kids are still playing with it, or we still use it. Understandable. Like, completely there with you. But then she proceeds to bring out all this Lego stuff, like a lot of it. And she's like, yeah, I bought, I was going to resell this. And I started sorting it and doing all this, and I sold off a little bit of it, but then it's like, it just became too much work and not worth the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, apparently. So I'm like, well, how much do you want for this? And we kind of did the back and forth, like, well, how much do you want to pay? How much do you want? And ultimately she said $30. And I was just like, I thought she was going to say like $100 or more, because sometimes you get people at yard sales that just want to get rid of stuff. And then you have people, and I hate this phrase because it hurts my wallet. They say, well, I know how much this goes for. Or I know what I have into this. And as soon as you hear that, you just start like crying on the inside, because they're going to want a lot of money for it. Because I bought a bunch of Thomas stuff one time for Clarkman. The lady said those words. She's like, well, I know what I have into this. And I'm like, well, what you have into it isn't necessarily, well, it probably is worth it. You have a point. But she said $30. And I was like, well, did you buy this at a yard sale? And she says, yeah, I bought it for $30. And, it basically just wanted out of it. But the funniest thing that she told me was she wouldn't have sold it to me for that price had Clarkman not been with me, because she was thinking that someone was going to buy it to be a reseller. Little does she know, like, when we buy Lego, that stays with us. So that was pretty cool. And I was thankful for the Clarkman charm, I guess. Unintentional. He was just jumping around in a puddle at the time. He was more typical kids are like cats behavior. He was way more interested. He had rain boots on. He was jumping in a mud puddle in their driveway while I was like looking at this Lego stuff. So like, it was definitely, I was more interested than he was, but you can't resist a good mud puddle. I mean, come on. How can any amount of Lego be more exciting than jumping in a puddle? So she gave that to us at a really great deal, and I thanked her so much for it. And I think she liked that it was going to somebody that was going to enjoy it. As much as you can enjoy another, thousands of pieces added into your thousands of pieces. But it made my day. I told Budman, I might even said it in the video, because obviously I made videos of all this stuff, and I was like, if nothing else happens today, I'm happy. And for me, that was pretty much all that happened on Saturday. Although we did have Bud and Deb over afterwards, because they came back to drop us off, and we all did an order to get some food and stuff, and we ate it here as like a Mother's Day celebration, since they were already here, because they were going to come over today. But it was like, hey, we're all here. Let's just do it. That being said, I went to Filippo's, which is like it's like an OIP, like a authentic Italian, like delicious food. And the place was crazy. Like the entire restaurant was full. There were people standing inside, like waiting to sit. There were people like outside. And the guy inside said, like, this is our busiest time of the year, Mother's Day. I guess mothers like to go out and eat. Mothers don't want to cook on Mother's Day, is what I've learned. So we did that yesterday, and we still have pizza left over today. So it's like, just winning on every level. So whereas, Friday, ultimately washout rainy day, found some scores. Saturday, a little bit better. Not really any scores, but then the Lego thing, just like one stop is all it takes to absolutely just fill me to the brim of happiness. And, that's what it was. Clarkman found some Pokemon cards too, and he was thrilled. He literally, he's the cheapest date ever. He got 10 Pokemon cards for $1. He like picked them out of a binder and was $1. And it's interesting, like Clark is just such a special dude. Like you think going with shopping with a kid, you think they want everything, like all this stuff. And he finds things that are interesting. And I always ask him like, oh, do you want that? And he's like, no. He just puts it back. He's just appreciating it, admiring it. And I just think that's really cool about him. Like he doesn't need to have every little thing. He's never in his entire existence Has he ever thrown a tantrum about something? That being said, like we don't typically say no very often, but he's reasonable. Like we go in, if we go shopping and we decide that we're going to get a toy, he gets one toy and he's very conscious of the price of it. And if the value is there, I feel like I've done a good job of teaching him that, where it's like you look at this thing and it's like, well, that's, that's $18, right? Or this thing is, $20 and has this, like, what is it worth it to you? Is it worth that price? And he's always asking about prices and things now, which I probably blame myself for. But hey, good to know finances, because school, I love you, school. They don't do a great job, at least the schools that I went to and from what I'm familiar with, they don't do a great job of teaching you the value of a dollar, right? I feel like the old man, these young kids don't know the value of a dollar. But no, you think about like, how hard is it to earn $20? How much work do you have to put in to earn $20? Or what is that worth? And is it worth that thing you're about to buy? Your money, your life, essentially, right? And I think learning that at 9 years old is much better than learning that at 25 after you've accumulated a ton of credit card debt and your house is full of crap and you're just like, oh shoot, I done messed up. But anyways, that was the long and extended version of my week in buying and selling. Having a lot of fun with it still. I've got a bunch of stuff to list. Like we got to go into listing mode and get out of buying mode because there's a bunch of stuff. But that being said, there's one community yard sale next weekend, and then Bud and Deb have their yard sale, which I'm putting in all the stuff that hasn't sold on eBay, like things that I've bought and it's been kind of like a fail on eBay. I'm going to sell it super cheap at the yard sale, so it'll clear out some inventory. And then I think there's one other community yard sale, either the first or second week in June, but then that's it. It's just random yard sales here and there, which they do pop up. So things should kind of go back to normal a little bit, but then we're into summer. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff that's going to be exciting to share, not only with you, but my family, right? So yeah, we'll kind of be making a shift. This is just like the phase that I'm in, the chapter, the season, whatever you want to call it. I'm just having fun with it. And I think reselling will be a thing as I go forward. And I love estate sales. I love the bins. Yard sale season will be gone by fall, obviously. So we'll have to see where it goes in the winter, but I'm just enjoying myself and just kind of working with what I got, revising strategies, doing the best I can, making hopefully smart moves, and just having fun, I think, is the most important thing. I think that should be your goal. Like if you're going to take on any endeavor, don't just do it because it's like, wow, I can turn a $5 purchase into $15 on eBay. It needs to be like, well, do you like doing that? Is that fun for you? And if it is, I'd say do more of that. And if it's not fun for you, find something else that's fun, right? And it doesn't have to be something that makes money. That's just something that like it's an extra incentive for me. And it's, again, I think last weekend I compared it to like a video game, trying to get a high score or level up. And that's what I feel like I'm doing. So I share all that, not to brag, not to boast, but maybe just to share my experience and maybe encourage you. If you're somebody out there that's, say, Saturday morning and you happen to be driving through your town, you see a neon green sign that says yard sale, maybe take a gander, maybe stop in, see what there's there, and maybe you'll find a great score for yourself, or you might find something truly remarkable that doesn't really suit your tastes, but the person's selling, and you could maybe sell it on eBay. And I'm sure there's something in this world that if you had a little bit extra money for, that you would like to spend it on, there has to be something, right? Or I'm sorry, I forgot. All of your needs are met and you're just set in life. I forgot. My bad. No, I'm just kidding around. I'm just trying to do the one thing that I think I can do okay. Encourage. Inspire. Okay, let's move on to the other hobby that I have. I talked about last week, the world of Lego. I said the hobby's kind of taken a back seat, at least for right now, to reselling. I hope people didn't get the gist that I'm getting out of Lego, because that's certainly not the case. It's still like my thing. And that Lego score I got this weekend was like the thing that got me the most excited about everything. But I'm still enjoying Lego, and I'm of course still buying Lego. And I talked about maybe I made a May the 4th order on May 1st last week. It would have been last week, yeah. And that came this week, and I was all excited because I was going to make a whole video and show off what I got, and I did. But then inside there was no gift with purchases, and that was my primary reason for buying, was that they're giving away 3 gift with purchases with your order. And I was like, that's weird. So I then went on to check the tracking, and my gift with purchases hadn't shipped yet. There was a label created. This was like on May 6th, ordered on the 1st. My other stuff came on the 3rd. weird. And it said it was going to ship the following day, which is the 7th, and the expected delivery was the 13th, which was this Monday, or actually tomorrow. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? But I finally got them on Friday, and I made a video updating it. It seems like Lego had some issues with some early orders, because I ordered at midnight. I happened to be up, which is a rarity for me, but I was awake. So I made my order, and I think things got all puzzled or whatever, and my gift with purchase didn't come, but they came eventually, and there's no harm done. It's not like a huge deal. I wasn't cussing out Lego or getting on with customer service or anything like that. They did their end of the bargain. It just took a little longer than I anticipated. But it was the first time anything like this has happened to me, where they've created like a separate order number and separate shipping and things. I heard from a lot of people that had no issues with their order, got everything like they usually do. Then I heard from people that had the same thing happen to me, or they got their gift with purchases right away and then their set came later. Who knows? It could just be a thing. Like if I'm speculating, maybe it's a thing where Lego's trying to trim the fat when it comes to shipping, and they have things in different warehouses, and they're like logistically trying to figure out the best way to get things around. I don't know, but I'm definitely not going to stop buying from them. And they've already got me worried because May 14th, that's Tuesday, they have another gift with purchase thing that's happening, and that's like ultimately, if Lego wants my money, the gift with purchases are the thing that get me. It's like, here's this thing that you can get for free if you spend a certain amount of money during a certain time. And that's when I'm like, okay, there's kind of like the set that I want to get. So then I buy it for that reason. But this is like a space diner, and I'm excited about it. And of course, spending $100 at Lego is not hard. Plus there's another like little promo thing that I redeemed that I'm going to get as well. So things are good in the world of Lego. Clarkman is still enjoying it thoroughly. In fact, he already got into that bin that I bought yesterday, and he was building like a little Star Wars ship. And he's also in the process of making a Charlotte's Web diorama type thing, a little mock. And I just love to see it. Like Clarkman is the dude that he's not so much interested in sets these days, but more interested in what can I turn those pieces into. And I think that's great for creativity and stuff. So that is what's happening in the world of Lego. I didn't really build anything this week, I don't think. It's just this reselling thing is kind of taken over in this season. But I'm okay with that. We're gonna keep doing the things that we love, and I feel like there's a little place for everything. And balancing it, as always, the hardest part. So, speaking of things going crazy on, let's talk about Greg's Arcade. I ended up downloading FC24, which is the new FIFA game for this year. It became free on PlayStation Plus, and I was like, hey, I want to try that out because I love playing soccer/football in video games. I've always been a sports game enthusiast. I think my first game that I really loved playing was RBI 94 for Sega Genesis. I love that a lot, which is a baseball game. And then Madden 95, I played the heck out of that. Then I got NBA Live. Was it 95, 96? Oh, I had NHL 95 too. 95 was a good year for EA Sports video games. I had all those games. I loved them. And I've played sports games throughout history. I remember in college, I was really into playing all the new Madden games. I'd play the NCAA football games, NBA 2K games like absolute crazy. I used to have Kobe Bryant courtside games for N64. My sports history goes back a long ways. And I used to be into watching sports too, not so much these days. Because I kind of, and this is just my personal opinion, I just kind of look at it like, is it really moving the needle at all for me in my life? And not so much. I don't really get invested in it, but I still like playing the games. But the game that I love playing the most these days, like I even tried playing the new Madden, and it's just not clicking with me. I'm just like, I don't like it. What I like is playing soccer, football to some circles. And it's just like, I love the pacing of it. Things are always happening. I love doing unnecessary slide tackles and getting yellow cards. That's lots of fun. The game's really cool too, in the way that it adjusts the difficulty level based on how you're playing. Like 2 times now, they're like, hey, we think you can move up. And I'm like, okay. And then I get slaughtered a little bit. Then I'm like, okay, let me try to get better. And I'm like adapting. So I'm enjoying the game quite a bit. I enjoy just doing like random matches where I pick a number in my head, and then I press the random button like 4 times on like the country, and then I press it 4 times on the league, and then I press it 4 times on the team. And then whatever that matchup is, even if I'm like way underpowered versus the other team, I play it and I try to do the best that I can. And I did a Patreon stream this week where I played that live, which was fun. Speaking of that, if you enjoy the podcast, you want to support it in some way, Patreon, you can do that. I plan to do a lot more stuff over there too. But yeah, I'm having fun with it. I also got it back into a game that I missed playing, that I was like super hardcore on until I beat it. And that is the game Merge and Blade. It's kind of like a Tetris style game, only you Tetris these falling soldier type guys, or various characters into even more advanced characters, and then they go into battle and you hope to win those battles, and they're automated. It's so much fun. I talked about it at length probably back in earlier this year. I played the game like crazy, almost gave up on it because it was such a grind at the end, but then I grinded and I beat it, and then I uninstalled it. But then I was thinking about the game and I'm like, I want to play that again. So I need to find some games. And if you ever have any experience in the game Merge and Blade is what it's called, or Dicey Dungeons, those two games just like really speak to me. They tickle my brain, as we always say. I want to find more games like that. I maybe like a card style game. Dicey Dungeons, like a dice based one where you go into battles. I don't know. I'm just having fun with it. I thought about maybe getting one of those Civilization games. I think it's like Sid Meier's Civilization 6 or something. I don't know. I just like that kind of stuff. So that was my week in gaming. I actually got some gaming in. Check that off the list, which is fun. But I also did some watching. Greg's Watch Attack Corner, whatever we're calling this. I ended up watching the movie Ripley with the fam after watching the show on Netflix, which I really enjoyed, but no one liked compared to the movie. I thought, let me give the movie a chance. I had some Amazon credits, so we rented it. And it was a weird thing because I still liked the show better than the movie. But was it because I watched that first? We talked before about whether you watch a show or read the book first. Sometimes that can have an impact, like Wheel of Time. All the people that read the Wheel of Time books destroyed the Amazon Wheel of Time show, which I enjoyed because I never read the books. I didn't know what I was missing, apparently. And of course, you can do a lot more in a 1,000-page book than you can do in an hour-long show or whatever, or even in a 10-episode run. But I liked the show Ripley better than what's it called? It's the Talented Mr. Ripley, starring Matt Damon, I think is what the title of the movie is. The show is on Netflix is just Ripley, but the premise is the same. It follows this guy that kind of infiltrates this high class buddy of his named Richard Greenleaf, and then kills him, and then steals his identity, and then has to balance like people knowing the old person, and then he's taking the identity. He's doing a lot of like forgeries and impersonations and things, but that's kind of what he does, and trying to navigate that is very interesting. But I like the show. It was shot in black and white. It was beautiful. It was so suspenseful to points where I had to like fast forward because it was just too much for me to handle. But lots of people said it's slow. They didn't like the characters. They felt like the actors were too old to play the role of like a guy that had gone to Italy to kind of escape adult duties. And these guys are kind of like, in their 30s or 40s or whatever. But I enjoyed it. But this week I decided to get into a new show that I completely binged my whole way through. Not new, but new to me. It's called Silo, and it's on Apple TV Plus. I've been paying for Apple TV Plus for a while now with anticipation of watching some shows. Silo, top of my list, as is, what was the other one? For All Mankind. I'm trying to give that one a shot, but I fell asleep before I could get through the first episode. Not because it's bad, I just fell asleep. But Silo, I watched all 10 episodes this week, which I know is insane. But, I mean, it's like watching 3 or 4 movies, I suppose. Maybe like 3 movies. Wow, this show is really good. The premise is that these people, you think of a silo like a corn silo that's up in the air, standing upright above ground. This is a silo that's underneath ground, and it's set 140 years in the future, where all these people, there's 10,000 people living underground in the silo. I'm going to do my best to explain this, which I did a terrible job with explaining it to Cody. She's not into these post-apocalyptic shows and things. But I did like a terrible job explaining it, and I spoiled the heck out of her because I knew she wouldn't watch it, but I'm going to try not to do that with you. So these people are living in this underground silo and living life there because they believe that outside is like a wasteland, essentially. In fact, they have this camera set up outside where they project onto this window, then they can see like it's barren wasteland out there. And these people have been living here for the last 140 years, but the problem is they don't know why they're living there or what happened because all of the before times information has been destroyed. They just know that the founders have created this thing called the Pact, that they're all there for a reason. It's not safe outside, and they all have to follow the rules, which are very strict of the silo in order to keep the silo going, right? To keep everybody going. and the betterment of society is better than just one person, essentially. So everybody's working towards a greater good. But what's interesting about the silo is that there are like these class structures, just like you have in the real world, where there's like the bottom of the silo where it's like mechanical and engineering, or mechanical basically, where everyone's trying to keep the silo running, like recycling and like working in like the engine room, sort of like, you remember the movie Titanic, how there was like Rose living in the upper class area at the top, and then the people at the bottom shoveling coal and all that. Sort of same situation here. And as you go up through the 144 layers or whatever of the silo, it's like the spiral staircase that goes through all these levels. People get, more fluent, wealthier. The doctors are up higher, and at the top are the people that control everything. In fact, there's this judicial side of things that essentially run everything. There's a mayor, there's a sheriff, there's order, and order is the most important thing. But there's also another important thing, and that's that if you commit a crime or do something terrible, they send you out of the silo. But when you leave, and you can also ask to leave the silo, and if you ask to leave, they have to grant your wish. And as soon as you say it, you're gone and you're outside the law. But when you leave, they ask that you clean the camera lens so people can see outside, to see what it looks like out there, and to be reminded that they need to stay in the silo for their safety. And everyone that leaves, they always go out and they clean the lens off. So because it gets dirty over time. Imagine something that's out there in the elements. When they clean it off, what you see out there is the barren wasteland and the bodies of the people that have dropped dead out there, because it's obviously not safe. They go out in like a spacesuit essentially, and then they're out there for a little bit. They clean the lens and they try to go walking off and they fall down. But what I find most interesting about this, not only the class structure, but the fact that like you have to wonder, is it actually bad out there? Because when the people go out there, and this is where we get into spoilers, maybe things aren't as exactly as they seem. Maybe it's not really like that. Maybe this is all about controlling people, and the people in power, the judicial side of people, and the people running the silo at the top, not above ground, but like at the top of the underground. Maybe they're just happy being in control, and they don't want people to know the truth, that it is actually safe to go outside and that they could go out. But then there's this other element of things too, where they're so serious about anything from the before times, like anything that they find that's like from our times. Like there's a Pez dispenser, for example, that's found. It's called a relic, and relics must be reported and destroyed, and failure to report a relic is like a red level problem for these people. So like anything that reminds people of a life before, and there can be, for example, say a book potentially is found that shows like what the outside looks like. That's a thing. There's even a guy that sits and he looks at the stars, which he calls them lights in the sky, and he's noticed that things are like they're moving and their formations, and like people's natural curiosity kind of takes over, and they don't want that, obviously. In fact, there was one of the ladies made this essentially a microscope using various materials that she found, and they came in, like these raider people that work for the authorities there came in and like crushed it essentially, because they don't want people, almost like the Amish, where the Amish are like, they're set in their time frame where they're like, any further technological advancement could cause issues for our community. So therefore, we don't want people having telephones or cars or being able to leave, for example. And I just think that's all very fascinating. So this show, 10-episode run, Apple TV Plus, very well done, has a great, I can't say anything more. I've already said enough. If you have Apple TV Plus, or if you have $10 to spare that you feel like this show may be worth it, you can do that. I liked it so much that I'm encouraged to read the books. There's 3 different books, and they're all on Audible, and they run about 15 hours each. And apparently the second series of the books, like this first season, I know I'm going on this a long time, but it's like fascinating to me. The first season covered the first half of book 1, essentially. So there will be about 6 seasons of this to tell the whole story. But I'm mostly interested in book 2, which is the story of how things got to be as they are. Because there's something that you find out at the end that's like game changing. So anyways, Silo, very cool show. Came out about a year ago, and it's definitely worth your time. Like it's, in my opinion, it's to my taste. Maybe not for everyone, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. So yeah, that's it for all the things that I got into. A little bit of everything this week. I got like actual categories now, which I might kind of keep going here. We got buying and selling. We got the world of Lego. We got my Greg's Arcade. We've got Watch Detect. That's like everything that's happening. So why don't we now go into listener feedback, making its triumphant return this week. Last week, I don't know what was going on. Let's talk about this in the first comment here from Clay Turtle. He says, felt like you're talking directly to me when commenting about people looking forward to the pod on a specific day. Appreciate it a lot that you took the time to make one. Sometimes we need a change in life. Buying and selling is like a new job. Doing the same job over and over, like most do, week in, week out, gets boring. As always, thanks, Greg. Yeah, last week I was in like a little bit of I don't know if I was just tired or if I was in a mood. I came very close to not making a podcast, but it was you, the person listening to this right now. You were the one that encouraged me to do it, and I was so glad that I did. And as I sit here and just think about this, I'm just so thankful that I have this podcast and that there are people that tune into this, because it would be hard to stay consistent at this and to keep doing it if there was nobody that was interested or cared. But it's very clear from I guess you can see the numbers of the views and listens and things, but primarily from the part that we're getting into now, which is listener feedback, there are people that really do look forward to this. And I love hearing from you. Like this second half of the show, or whatever this turns into, this is the best part. So if there is anything that you would like to cover or talk about, this is where I encourage you to do so, which is exactly what Clay Turtle did. But last week, I was just kind of in a little bit of a rut, but I followed my own advice that I give you all the time. I don't want to be a hypocrite. So I said, the key to success, show up and be consistent. Those two things is literally all you need to do. That's all I have to do. This isn't like, what's the joke? Rocket surgery. This isn't rocket surgery. Brain surgery mixed with rocket science. It's just me sitting down and talking about my week. And while I don't owe it to anyone out there necessarily, I want to do this. And I do think that it gives value to somebody out there. And I always talk about how I'm also a podcast listener myself. And there's occasions where shows that I listen to are gone for a week. In fact, I had two shows I listened to during the week this week that didn't make an episode. And I'm just like, dang, because I have a lot of time on my hands and I spend a lot of time listening to stuff like when I'm packing orders or when I'm shopping at bins. I always have a podcast in. You may notice I have my earbuds in whenever I'm out and about. And that means a lot to me. And I think this maybe means a lot to somebody out there too. So that's why I think it's important to show up. And I'm glad I did last week. Didn't have listener feedback last week because Clark Man was itching to come down here. I think we were going to play Hot Wheels is what we were doing. So I did it. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad I didn't take last week off, because then again, like if you're looking at this from a historic context, not that there's any history here, but maybe someday somebody will go through and listen to all 500 episodes of Missing Pieces or whenever the show ends. And then it's like, well, what happened that 1 week that like you were gone? And we'll have some of those here this summer, I'm sure, as we travel, but there's no excuses, right? No excuse. So I'm glad that I did it, maybe even more so than you are, Clay Turtle. So thank you for listening and tuning in and for the encouragement. Next one comes from Kristen. She says, thanks for showing up, Greg. Hey, my pleasure. Even though it's usually not your designated day to shoot your podcast, a lot of us look forward to it. But if you're busy and don't have time to shoot one, it's okay, understandable. Hope you're having a great week. No excuses, Kristen. No excuses. Unless I'm physically unwell or not here, I'm going to make an episode of this, even if it's just me talking about how much I love going to the bins every week. Next one comes from Jasper, Lego Jasper, to be precise. He says, maybe it'd be cool to go to yard sales live with you so everybody can look with you for scores. I love that idea. The thing is, when I go yard selling, I try to be discreet when I'm filming, because I don't know, is it disrespectful to film other people's yard sale stuff? Like I am going onto their property and filming things, not in a disrespectful way, disrespectful way. I don't make fun of anyone. I try not to film the people having the sales. I just like to share some of the things that I see, particularly the things that I buy, which I think is a fair thing. Like I'm buying this thing from you and like I'm documenting the things I'm buying. I don't ask people for permission or anything like that. So there could be a whole, you could take that however you want. And people tend to take things sometimes right or wrong. It's all about perspective, which is something I actually got into this week. But I guess I'll finish this thought out by saying, like, if I recorded it live, like I'd be very clear that I'm like doing something with my phone or like filming something. The positive side of that would be that you could help me. Like there's people that are experts in a lot of things that I'm not experts in. Like Janelle, I know Janelle's listening. I found Fisher Price Little People this weekend, which is things she collects. I don't know if they're worth any money or not. And like, obviously Deb knows things about jewelry, Bud's into hunting, knives and fishing stuff. I'm into electronics, video games, Lego, toys. We all have our interests, and those are the things we focus on. And sometimes like I've edited videos where I've gone back and and missed things, and I'm like, oh, Greg, why didn't I pick that up? Like that was really cool. Or I'll see like a game or something that I passed by. So in that case, having somebody that's watching with you and live in the spot could be like, hey, Greg, there's a Wii game there or whatever. I'm just making something up, but yeah, that would be cool. But back to the whole perspective thing, like I look at it. Like you can look at things from a variety of perspectives, particularly like the one that I mentioned earlier, where I was like, I'm fulfilling this need in the market that I see it as. There's somebody that's trying to get rid of something. Because I've mentioned before that yard sale is essentially like a glorified donation. You're trying to get rid of this thing, and instead of just throwing it away or donating it, you're hoping to get a dollar or two out of it, just so somebody takes it. And then I take that thing, and if I'm reselling it, I bring it home. Sometimes I clean it up. I get it presentable. I take photos of it. I list it on eBay. And then somebody else out there who wants that thing that maybe didn't go to that yard sale in the middle of Pennsylvania is like, wow, I really wanted this thing. I've been looking for it my whole life. And it's not like I'm charging them exorbitant prices for it. I'm not scalping it like you would with a concert ticket that you bought for $200 and you're selling for $5,000 or whatever to some person that's just so desperate. There's a whole listing of all these things on eBay, and I sell mine for a very competitive price because my goal is to not have anything in my store. I want everything to sell as soon as possible. So when I look at listings, if something is $25, mine's $24. So I feel like I'm connecting somebody that wants to get rid of something with somebody that wants to buy something, and I'm giving them a deal on it while taking a commission in the middle. And I think that's a fair thing. That being said, I did have someone that was upset with me for going to the bins and buying these glucose test strips that I bought for like $3. Or I bought for $5 and $3, two separate occasions. And I sell them online for $25, which again is the best price you can find them for on eBay. I sold them as cheap as the best I can for right under what the absolute cheapest one was. And they're like, you could have saved that for somebody that went in there that actually had diabetes and needed to save that money. And my reply was, again, it's all about perspective. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. Those glucose test strips were sitting in the bottom of a bin here in my city. No one had bought those for $7, for $6. I bought one for $5. No one bought it at $4. $3, I bought another one. Then I listed those online and I sold them for the lowest price possible to an entire country of people. And in both cases, they both sold for like $25 plus free shipping. So ultimately, like I probably made maybe like $15, $17 off of those. But again, it's like, this is something that was, if no one bought, was going to get thrown away. I don't know what actually comes of the bin stuff at the end of the week. Like I'd love to know what happens at the end of the day on Friday, at the end of $1 a day, when there's still stuff in there. Does it just get tossed? So if you look at it like that, and the fact that these things didn't get snatched up at 7, at 6 or whatever, even at 5, like I bought one, I should have waited for it to turn to 3. I'm taking that thing that's essentially worthless to almost every single person that looks through there, and I'm selling it to somebody that absolutely needs it, and I'm giving them a deal on it. They're getting it for the cheapest price available online. So that's the way I look at it. But again, a perspective. I see it from a reseller standpoint as the person in the middle, the middleman, if you will. And no one likes middlemen. In fact, this guy essentially said, he led off his comment with saying, I don't usually support resellers and scalpers like yourself. So it was already kind of a negative thing to start out with. But then he did kind of say, like, do what you got to do in this economy or whatever. But I don't know. I can see his point. And I said I appreciate his perspective. Like I replied to him. I was genuine. But then I hope to like show him my side of it. But the problem with any kind of internet discourse like this is that you're never going to change someone's opinion. No matter how much you try or how much you think you're going to do, if somebody has an opinion on something, 9 times out of 10, or maybe even 10 times out of 10, they're going to still have that opinion, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep that opinion and that worldview. So maybe I should just let those things go. But I was like, I feel like, and that's looking at this from a content creator standpoint. Anytime you get any kind of negativity, the best thing to do is just to brush it off. If the comments egregious, just delete it. If they're really being awful, just block them and delete it. If it's a fair assessment, just let it go. And if you feel like you need to defend yourself, you can. But then oftentimes it just goes into this back and forth that nobody wins on. And then at the end, you just feel worse for doing it because you're fighting with your ego or whatever. But yeah, let me know what you think about that. I know some of you will probably just defend me because of, I explain this to you in the way that is my perspective, but maybe you could see it from the other side too, where you're like, yeah, somebody maybe could have really needed that for $1, and it wasn't there because I snagged it and put it on eBay. But I mean, you could say that about any item. That was kind of like a medical item, I guess, which makes it a little more serious. But I guess it's the market, and maybe I don't know. It got me thinking a little bit though, and I appreciate it. I don't think there was any ill will in that comment or anything like that. It was that's just how that person felt, and that was their perspective. We all have that, which is a great time to get into the next comment from DB Bricks, who I played as his favorite team in FIFA this week. He says, talking about reselling is always a touchy subject. Some people have no interest in this subject. Others even have some strong opinions on why resellers are evil and are just doing it out of greediness. But I think the content you're putting out shows there's so much more to it than that. And we're not all evil. He's a Lego reseller. The time you get to spend with Bud and Deb and Clarkman when he's not in school, the places you get to go that you'd probably never visit otherwise, and people and pets, oh, that's my favorite thing, that you meet. It's all memories that are being made and things that many internet naysayers would conveniently ignore or forget about. There's another perspective, I tend to agree with that, but again, that's coming from somebody that's a fan and a supporter, and somebody that's obviously looking out for me versus somebody that's like has their opinions. If you hear my stomach rumbling, I haven't eaten anything yet today. It's almost breakfast 30. It's 9:36. This podcast's got to go out in 2 hours, guys. We got to get through these. Thank you, DB, for supporting me in the reseller world. Dirty scalpers taking diabetic test strips out of the bin and selling them for money. I mean, what difference is that than any other item that I take out of there? They don't have an issue when I sell a rodent deterrent that I bought for $5 and I sold that for $33. Is that there's people out there that have raccoons that are getting into their chicken yard and drinking the water. They could have used that. Instead, you bought it and sold it. I mean, it could be anything, I don't know. Obviously, it's something I've been thinking about, though. Next one comes from Sally. Sally, longtime supporter of the channel. She says, so, Greg, I've noticed that you guys that have YouTube channels tend to copy each other. I'm wondering if you're following Dave's path of buying and selling stuff. We'll still have memories if Lego goes on the wayside. We thank you for getting started in the Lego hobby or business. Yeah, I don't know. I guess anytime you have a person that buys a lot of things or collects a lot of things, it naturally sometimes leads to reselling, especially when you get deals on those things. Maybe it's a certain type, of person where it's like you're a business-minded person potentially, or you see opportunities in things. Some people, like I would say most people that go to yard sales by far and the bins are just buying for themselves. And they may see an item in there, regardless of what it is, medical or not, and be like, oh, I don't need that thing. Just pass right by it, walk away. I look at it like, oh, maybe there's some potential in that. Maybe there's an opportunity. And then you can convert that into other things. It's fun. It's like a transformation. It's a project. It's a process. And the person earlier that said, like, it's not necessarily getting bored with life, but it is fun to try new things and start things out. And that's what I enjoy doing. But as far as people copying each other, I don't know about that. Like Dave, my buddy Dave is he's a Lego reseller, and he's hardcore, and it's awesome to see. Like, he buys truckloads of Lego at a huge discount and then lets it marinate in inventory and then sells it later. And I think that's really cool. It's a lot to take on, a lot of inventory and stuff. But you can really do well with that. Lego's probably a better investment than gold. And I think there's been articles about that, actually. It actually is. Next one. Thank you, Sally, for all the years of support. She sent us so many things in the mail and letters and things and birthday cards. She's a great lady. From Arizona. Next one comes from Daredevil0504, says, in 28 days, I'm going to Cedar Point for the first time in 20 years. And I need to start getting stuff ready. I got so much to do, but I keep procrastinating. Oh man, you're going to have so much fun. 20 years. I don't know what Cedar Point looked like 20 years ago. I don't have the history with that I have at Knoebels. But my goodness, you're going to have an awesome day of roller coasters, man. Gatekeeper, get on that bad boy right when you get in the gate. And man, it's such a great way to start your day. And hopefully Maverick's up for you. I love that ride, but every time I go, it's like down. Man, first time in 20 years, it's going to be great. Steel Vengeance, going to be amazing. That one's not my favorite there, though, even though it's supposedly one of the best wooden coasters there is. Is it technically wooden coaster? I guess it's made of wood. So it's like, technically, I'm excited for you. Let me know, report back. You're going in 28 days, which might be less than that now. We'll hear from you in episode 212 or so. Let me know how you made out at Cedar Point, how much fun you had, and what your favorite ride was. I'm still looking. I think I'm going to get the Hershey Park season pass. It's like $196. But I did the calculations, and I think a Hershey Park ticket is $60, and parking, good Lord, $25. So if you go there 2 times, it pays for itself. And I'm like, dude, I could certainly go there more than 2 times this summer. And then you get preferred parking. You get a discount on food and merchandise. I think there's all these benefits that come with it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Like I'm looking at going maybe at the end of May. I would do my Cedar Point run, but I'm looking at Hershey Park as an alternative to Cedar, because Cedar Point is 5 hours for me to drive one way, 5 hours. Another 5 hours to get home, whether I do that the same day or a different day. Last year I did it the same day. That was a super memorable day for me though. It was like a solo run. I did the whole drive and the whole park in one day. Rode many of the rides twice that I wanted to do twice. And I was just done for the day. So I left and I was like, I'll start driving and see how far I get. Then I'm like, I think I can make it home. So that was great. But Hershey Park is like 2 hours. So I'm saving 6 hours of driving time, which could be like another 6 hours of riding time. So I think maybe that's the move. And they've got so many good coasters there too. And it's a great park. The food is phenomenal. I've never had better park food than the barbecue place they have at Hershey Park. Incredible. So I'm looking at maybe going the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday after Memorial Day. I think it's going to be a dead zone there. And whatever day the weather is the best, I'm going to go. Watch it rain every day, which it's been doing. Like, it's still raining today. It's 3 days in a row. Come on, Pennsylvania. You know what they say? May showers bring June flowers. They don't say that. Thank you for commenting, though, Daredevil. Good luck. Next one comes from Mr. Beachy. It says, reselling question for you. When you post something on eBay, do you tend to find a listing and sell one like this, or build one from scratch? I've always done the former, and so the latter stresses me out. I always find one that's sold recently and did really well, and then I just use that, and then I change, I write my own description. I look at the prices of sold listings. I look at the prices of the current listings. I do a very low sell on that, or like a low price, because again, I want my thing gone. I want it to sell, and I'm okay. Usually I have enough margin. Like, say I buy a video game for $1 and I sell it for 10. I have enough margin that I can do that, whereas someone else might be like, I want 15 for that because I bought it for 20. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I want to be the next sale. When someone looks for something, I want my item to be the next time that item's bought. So when I go to buy things, I try to find things with high turnover because I know that item's going to go quickly. But I always do the sell one like this, and then I populate my stuff from there, which it already puts the title in, which you can change. You just have to put your photos in. It has all of the other data or whatever in there. Like for Lego, it'd be like the set number, the piece count, the year it came out. Someone did all that dirty work for you, so now you get to reap the benefits of that. And I think most people do, because I see a lot of listings with the same exact title, so people don't change anything. They just do it that way. Next one comes from, thank you for the comment. Next one comes from G Family. It says, seen an unopened Star Wars toys, at least from the 80s at a yard sale. The flip of all flips. Lady said $1. Just as the dollar is about to reach her hand. Wait, let me ask my husband, she said. Sorry, it's actually 50. My heart sank. Still new to flipping. Couldn't justify $50 for one object in my head. Happy yard sale season, everyone. Yeah, I had that happen to me this weekend. When I got the Simpsons cassette tape, it was inside this case that said 50 cents. And I opened it up. It was completely full of tapes. No music that I'd be interested in, but full of cassettes. And I asked the lady, I said, is this 50 cents for like everything contained within here, or 50 cents for the case, 50 cents each? She's like, oh, I didn't even know there were tapes in there. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have opened it. I made a joke to her. I wouldn't rip her off, but she was like 50 cents each. So I gave her 50 cents just for the Simpsons tape. But yeah, I've had that happen where people are like, oh, let me go ask my husband or whatever. And you're like, oh God, that's never a good thing. But yeah, maybe they were worth $50. I don't know if they weren't opened at all. I don't know. I would probably start. This is what you do in that situation. You look at it, you take a picture of it or whatever, you upload it to eBay, or you search by image, or you type something into eBay and see what things are going for. Because even if she said $50, that might have still been a win depending on what it was. Now we're all going to be curious. You got to take people live with you when you're going, right? But yeah, use your best judgment. If something seems like it's too much, probably is. But at $1, oh my gosh. Just imagine what would have happened to her, though, if she sold that to you for $1. And the husband comes down and be like, oh, did you sell my new in-box Darth Vader from 1978? She's like, yeah, I got $1. He's like, what? That was $50? Yeah, you don't want that to happen. But man, I find most people, at yard sales, if you're selling something at a yard sale, garage sale, as I mentioned earlier, they just want to get rid of it. They don't really care about the price. They're like, $1? Yeah, take it. Like, I don't want to have to haul that back in later. That's where most people are at yard sales. The stuff that's sitting out is worthless to them, and they're hoping to get whatever they can. Sometimes people want top dollar, which we just pass by those ones. Like, I've seen things where I could go get it brand new for less money than what people are charging. But most people, it's just like, please take it. I've had people trying to give stuff away to us. Like, they wanted Clarkman to fill up a bag full of toys for, like, I don't know if it was $5 or free. I was just like, no, we got too much. But yeah, we'll never know the story of what that Star Wars one was. Let me know what the figure was if you remember. We can all be like, oh man, no, don't, because then someone will be like, you screwed up. Then you'll feel bad forever. Next one comes from Lane. It says, hey Greg, it's good to have another episode of the podcast to listen to. All this talk about yard sales and reselling has got me motivated to try it out. Let's go. He says, I always see as long as you don't live in my town. If you live in my town, don't do it. It's terrible. You'll never find anything, especially Lego if that's what you're hunting for. All this talk about yard sales got me motivated to try it out. I always see yard sale signs in town I live in, so I might have to check them out and see if there's anything I can flip for a quick buck. I don't think we have any bins where I live, but they seem to be more lucrative. I don't know. I think yard sales, like from a price standpoint, you're more likely to find a $50 Star Wars figure for $1 at a yard sale than you are something great at the bins on $1 day or $3 day, because it's already been gone through. I think you're more consistency at a bins type situation where I can find consistent flips where I find 3, 5, 10 items that I can sell for a little bit. Whereas yard sale might be like one item that's just like a banger of a score, if that makes sense. But totally, stop by some of the places, and you never know. You might find something that, like, not just for flipping or selling, you might find something that you didn't even realize that you wanted. That's like the greatest thing you've ever found. You never know. So I hope you go out, and if you do, again, I want you reporting back here. Tell me what's going on. I need you guys that are leaving comments here. I'm going to need follow-ups because you're leaving me on these cliffhangers. You're pulling the silo on me where it's like, oh, I'm going to Cedar Point. What happened? I got this Star Wars figure. What happened? I need to hear the rest of the story. I love it. He goes on to say, on the topic of movies and shows, when I watch something I like, then go online to see what others think or what the Rotten Tomatoes was and see it's low and nobody likes it, I get kind of embarrassed in an odd way. But Interstellar has a 70 on Rotten Tomatoes, so maybe they don't know what they're talking about. I'm done with reviews. I'm like looking at stuff and descriptions, and I'm deciding then and there, if I'm going to watch it. Because what I do is I go to Reddit, because I feel like Reddit is the place where honest people have honest conversations. And the problem is, it's like all the hardcores get on there and they trash stuff. Like Wheel of Time, I would have never watched that first season because all the book people got on there like, this show's terrible. And yeah, I like, what I like doing is watching something, and then I'll go to Reddit where people are discussing it afterwards. I think that's the most fulfilling. And again, if you watch something and it's not your thing, you can bail on it. Interstellar, though, was a situation for me where I went into that movie knowing nothing. I didn't want to know anything about it. And that movie was incredible for that reason. I love that movie. Definitely more than a 70 in my book. That soundtrack, though, the Hans Zimmer soundtrack, oh my God. Incredible, dude. Yeah, don't worry about the topic of last episode was don't listen to the critics or even people reviewing things or whatever. Or even my opinion for that matter. Just if you see something you like, just go check it out. And if you don't like it, just move on. We have another question from him or her. It says, I've got a question for you. Do you believe in Bigfoot or other creatures like that? And if so, have you ever encountered something like that? Or maybe might be a cryptid? Thank you for another great episode. Keep doing what you do. Random question of the day. Do I believe in Bigfoot? I don't know if I believe in Bigfoot necessarily, but I do believe that there are a lot of animals and species of things that we have no idea even exists, especially like in the oceans. I think there's a lot of things to be found or seen down in the depths. There's probably tons of stuff in there. There's animals everywhere. We identify animals all the time. Unfortunately, we extinct animals all the time too. I don't know about a Bigfoot though, in the sense of a Bigfoot that we know of, almost like a Yeti type thing. I don't know. I think if that existed, there would be like more evidence of it, but who knows? Maybe. I'm going to lean towards no on that, but I do think there's a lot of other crazy creatures out there that aren't like in lore like that. Next one comes from Rob, the Canadian geek. This guy, let me tell you about Rob. You guys know Ray, right? Him and Ray could have a comment off because they leave the best comments, like the most intricate, like you definitely know that these guys watch the videos. And I'm thinking Ray and Rob are like kindred spirits of such, and I think they should like connect in some way because I feel like they would be great together. But Rob left a really nice message this week, as did Ray. I don't know if Ray's thing's on here. Oh goodness, I always have to give shout outs to these guys because it's like your comments are very in depth and they're very very long, which is a good thing. But they take up a lot of the show time. So I'm gonna read Rob's here. He says hobbies come and go sometimes, but it's the memories that stay. Perhaps Lego is more something you do with Clark than by yourself. Things like that happen. My love of Lego has also slipped in the last few months. A mixture of school, family, other hobbies, and the costs have taken a toll. Hear you there, brother. He says it's common for shows to dishonor the books. For better or worse, I usually try to separate the two in my mind, which is easier said than done, especially if you read the book first and you have an image of what the person looks like in your mind, and then you watch the movie or show and you're like, eh. It's like Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and countless other franchises. People have different opinions, which today people get upset at. Fast food and snacks are sneaky devils. It's all about effort. As they say, showing up is half the battle. I think Transformers used to say that. Another great episode, Greg. Have a fantastic week. All the best, Rob. Rob with the MVP comment. Thank you, sir. But not to be rivaled, Sam. You guys know Sam Bartz. He says, hey, Greg, hope all is well in your world. I want to start off with realizing I made an oopsie last week. He said that he wrote a comment, but apparently forgot to click the comment button or it didn't get posted in some way, but that's okay. I didn't read him last week, but I did comment to everybody back. So that was good. So if you left a comment, you got to reply, hopefully, if you have notifications on. If not, you can go back and read it. He says, I have a ton of experience with liking things people typically don't. The biggest example of this is my love for a specific game that receives a lot of hate. The game is Wii Music for the Wii. If you don't know what Wii Music is, think of an air guitar, but you're holding a Wii remote playing music from the public domain. I don't know why I enjoy it for as long as I have. It's most likely because of all the sentimental value it holds for me. After all, Wii Music introduced me to the Monkees. Hey, we're the Monkees. There isn't a lot that happened to me this week. It's mainly composed of my brother coming home for the weekend. However, I've been getting back into Forza Horizon 5. That's a great game. It's funny that you talked about Gran Turismo 7 for a quick second. There's just something about driving a car that I love. This guy he's a car guy. I imagine his entire lineup is Toyotas. It's just different for me because I'm a car guy, which is such a relaxing experience at just cruising down roads and free roam. Don't worry though, I race too. I don't know, dude. Like I like the open world Horizon games, but I just really love being on a track in a simulation, maybe we're living in a simulation, but I like being in a simulation within a simulation where I'm just driving a car in Gran Turismo, shifting through the gears, and I just love it. And I want to get a racing cockpit. Like I've been looking, they're like $500, but then that's the beginning of the problem. Big expense. Maybe that's what I save up all my eBay money for, to get a racing cockpit for Gran Turismo 7. That'd be a good investment of all my bins buys, right? But then I need to find a place for it, which my studio is like, it's full. But maybe we could I can make a spot for some racing action. That'd be fun to live stream too. People really love to watch me drive cars. American Truck Simulator, my most popular game that I play, and then Gran Turismo 7 is right up there too. Farming Simulator is something I want to get back. I love simulator games. I think about just maybe going down that path. I talked about Merge and Blade earlier. They're like puzzle games, but I really love simulator games. They're just so much fun. Doing the mundane things like driving a truck with a trailer on the back, for some reason, just is fun for me in a video game, or seeding a field in Farming Simulator. I like those kind of things. Kicking a soccer ball, I could do that in real life, not at that level though. But I love it all. So that's what Sam got into this week. He says, thanks for the dedication. You don't have to record this week, but if you did, I am so appreciative of it. Hope you and Clark have a blast racing Hot Wheels. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, sir. Next one. And last one, we got to give a shout out here to that guy, Oni, who is a longtime listener, first time caller. I love it when people say that because it means you just came out of the woodwork. Come on out. Join us. I promise I won't make fun of you too bad or be mean to you. Maybe I will. He says, I'm glad reselling hidden gems on eBay is working out. It sounds good to have another source of reliable income on the side while also creating a new hobby. The new name for all this could be Pizza, Pretzels, Parks, and Profit. I can't even say that once. I love it though. He says, I'm not sure though. Profit seems almost money driven, which I know you're not. Yeah, we need another P. If anybody has any ideas, Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles. Right now it's Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles, and Parks. Pizza, Pretzels, Pickles, and Parks. Could we get a fifth one in there? I feel like we might be pushing it. I don't know, the 5 Ps of life: pizza, pretzels, pickles, parks, and profit. Yeah, profit does seem kind of rude, but I mean, when I buy something, I am looking at that, particularly at the bins. But I'm trying to get more into, as I mentioned earlier, like that's a cool thing. That's a neat thing I want to have. Because people don't care about my bin stuff. They like that stuff. Anyways, at least viewers is what I'm talking about. He says, I've also had to put some of my hobbies like Lego, etc. on the back burner due to exam season beginning here in the UK this month. However, it is safe to say this podcast is certainly making studying easier for me. Thanks. It's cool that you made use of the May the 4th sales. Buying the Brickheads to build with Clark is nice and helps create an experience. It's a shame people in UK don't do yard sales, as I would love to snag some deals. I'm sure the UK listeners can agree. Thanks for another great episode and keeping me entertained in difficult times. Oliver, thank you for commenting, and thank you all the rest of you guys too, including Ray. I missed his comment. Ray understands. He's a classy fellow. But listener feedback, again, like probably the best part of the show. More people are, I'm assuming, interested in hearing what you guys have to say than hearing from me over and over every week talking and gushing about how much I love Lego, video games, movies, reselling. But maybe not. That's what I'm into right now. And again, as the tides of time move on and seasons change, we get into other things and we just share all the things that I'm into and up to. That's the whole premise of this, and that's where we're at right now. So on that, I hope you have a glorious Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever dollar day it is at the bins for you. I hope you have a great one. We're going to celebrate Roxy's birthday today. I try to get some footage of that so you can see it too, because she has a cake, and I'm curious to see how that happens. Again, wish me luck on raising a teenager. I've got a few more years with Clark, but Roxy, now she's a teenage girl. So gosh, who would have thought? I'm a teenager dad. Anyways, hope you have a great one, and we'll see you all, or find you all, in the next episode of Missing Pieces.